I don't do these very often, but it's been kind of building up, so I need to get caught back up. So mostly I'm working on dyeing my my fiber for the Woolery spin along, and I have it all soaked. It's all ready to go. I also have a few skeins of bulky superwash from Darn Good Yarns, and I have my Tunis hand spun soaked and ready to dye as well. So we are going to start with, I have my notes. We're going to start with the Polworth and 2 skeins of the chunky superwash, and that's going to be dyed with a 50-50 blend of Gaywool Rhodamine and Jacquard Hot Fuchsia. So I already have that mixed here. I've already added the citric acid to the pot. I'm just waiting for it to heat up a little bit more. This is probably more dye than I'll need, so I'm going to start with half of it and see how much color saturation I get. And then if it's not enough, I'll add the rest. But I'm actually looking for a pretty tonal effect, so that's what I added, a lot of citric acid. So once it gets up to heat, it should strike pretty quickly, hopefully. Somewhere around here I have a thermometer. Oh, there it is. There's a lot of stuff over here right now because it's a lot of different things going on at once. I'm not actually sure this thermometer works, but it's not even at 100 yet, so we'll hold off. I don't think the water's deep enough for me to, I'll try actually. Okay, that may work actually. I'll leave it there. So, we'll start with this bin here. And I do have them organized in bins with the color I want to dye them in and their bag that labels their information right near them, so I can keep track. But another way you could keep track is to use like some cotton ties on them, just some plain cotton yarn in the color that you're planning on dyeing them in, so that you could organize them that way. I was thinking about labeling them that way, but I forgot to do it. It's not really important either, as long as I keep track. They do all feel different, so I can tell the difference. I mean, Polworth feels very different from the Shetland that I got, and BFL is way shinier. Let's see, just over 100 degrees. Well, at least it's heating up fast. I'm gonna turn it up a little more. I don't want it to get to boiling, so ideally just below boiling would be ideal. I'm gonna add the dye now. Pretty washed out, but just kind of seeing what the color looks like. Let's rinse off the stick. Okay. And I am going to turn this into time lapse just until it's heated up enough for me to do stuff with it. Or actually, I mean, I guess time lapse until this bucket's done and we're ready for the next bucket is probably fine. So, one moment. One thing to keep in mind is that this is a pretty slow process. Between waiting for the water to heat up and the dye to permanently set, you don't want to rush it. If you rush it, all of the dye will wash out and you'll be left with a very faded result. So I am going to have to leave this for a few minutes, and I will come back to you when it's ready to take out. I was just going to leave it on time lapse without being incredibly boring for you. So See you in a few minutes. Alright, it's been about 25 minutes and it's time to check on the pull worth. And I realize this doesn't work at all, so I'm just going to throw them away. And the depth of color. Look at it. Alright, so because I put it in while it was in a braid, it does have the tonal variation I was hoping for, like white spots. Because the braid acts as a resist. That's the word I'm looking for, resist. I'm trying to get this out, but I cannot get a grip on it. Okay, time to get messy. I'm sorry. Squeeze those out real quick. It will definitely need some rinsing once it pulls off. And there's still a lot of dye left in the pot, which is what I expected. Let's see if I can dump some of that back in. Dye the two skeins here. Let's see, they have strings on it I can use. No, we're going undone. Darn it. One moment. I wanted to do this in a skein so that it would be easier, but it doesn't look like those ties go all the way around. That's irritating. Is that right? Close enough. Okay. You know, it probably makes more sense to do it the long way anyway. Alright. Since they are soaked, they should start absorbing the dye without much effort on my part. And these are super washed, so I can be a little bit more aggressive. For a few minutes, and then when I come back we will do the Shetland next because that's right next to me. So, alright, I'm back and I'm about to start the Shetland. I have the pot all reset, new water. I was going to use the same water, but I ended up using way too much of the pink dye in the last batch and I could not get it to exhaust. So fresh water, green dye, more citric acid. Right now it's just heating up and I'll be able to add the fiber in a moment. At the end, I'll show you what they all look like dyed up. I'm just letting some of the water drain first. When they're wet, you can't really see the details in the colors that well. So, about to add the Shetland. Now, Shetland is significantly, let me rephrase that. Some Shetland is very, very soft, like very, very soft. This stuff is a little bit more rustic. I think it'll still be next to Skin Soft, but it's not nearly as fine as the Polworth I just dyed, so it will probably take the dye a little differently just because the fibers are a little thicker. I'm hoping to still get some good coverage, and then when that's done, I also have the tunis that I spun to dye as well. Hopefully there will be color left. I did use a lot less dye in this one than I did in the last one. I will say though that the neon yellow, the flavine I use, does tend to take a while to exhaust. So we'll see. Okay, let's get this in the pot. This will be a weird color, I can already tell. Might end up being more yellow than green, which is fine. I was going for like a really neon green, but a neon green that's almost yellow is also fine. Alright. Put that in there, put the cover on, and I'll meet you back in a few minutes. Done, and I can show you what came out. It's still damp. I'm going to put it in front of a fan to dry, but I can at least show off the colors. So in terms of yarn, this is how the tunis came out. Super electric. And as I expected, it did fluff up a bit during the dye process, but at the same time, the cable ply that I did, you can see it better. The plying is evened out some, so I really like how this came out. So I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna put all of these in front of the fan. In terms of the superwash chunky yarn, one of the skeins kind of came apart, so I'm gonna have to rewind that one, but these three are done. I'm trying to keep the pink ones away from the green ones because there's still a little bit of dye left on the pink ones. I did try rinsing it, but I don't want to overdo the rinsing either, especially for the fiber. I'll wash it when it's finished yarn, but in this state, I don't want to agitate it too much. So, this is the Polworth, and it is a super vibrant pink, as I was hoping for. Where's the end of it? Is it this side? Yeah. Alright, so as you can see, as you pull apart the chain, the parts that were covered by other bits of wool are a lighter pink, while the parts that were just right in the dye are a darker pink, giving it that nice tonal effect I was hoping for. And I need to unchain it anyway because that allows it to dry better. So I can take a look at the dye job in full detail. And they'll probably take a few days to dry, that's pretty normal. Alright, so this is 8 ounces of tonal pink Polworth for the spin along. That's done. And then we have the BFL, which is a blue-green-ish mix. And as you can see in the center of the braids, it's much lighter. The blue mostly ended up on the outside, while more of a green tone ended up on the inside. I think the green is more from a little bit of yellow dye that was left in the pot from the green fiber. There wasn't much of it, so I didn't empty it out and redo it, but it did have a small effect on the BFL, so you can see that. And also had a little bit of a creamier color to begin with anyway. Alright, so there's the BFL. And then finally, the Shetland, which is one of my favorite colors, this bright electric green. And let's see, it should be this end. Yep. And again, tonal results, which is one of my favorite types of things to spin because you just get such interesting yarns out of it. And you do want to wait for it to be fully cooled and at least partially drained before you unravel it like this, because you don't want to felt it. Right? It's completely cool. It's just damp. So there's that. Love this color. All right, and it did soften up in the wash some too, so that's nice. So there's all of those, and like I said, they'll be dry probably in a few days, and then I can start weighing them out into individual ounce portions for the different steps for the spin along, which I'm really excited for. So I think that's it for today. I'm gonna get this video finished up and posted tonight. I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you.